Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Medcurity podcast. My name is Mel, and I'm thrilled to be joined by several members of my team with deep knowledge of security, NVAs, and you name it. Welcome, Joe, our CEO. We have Jordan, our business analyst, and Dan and Luke from our cybersecurity team. So this week, we're going to be adding on to our conversation last week that we had with a few folks talking about our NVA findings. But today, we're going to be talking about our on-site SRAs and the findings from that, and some solutions to common weak points in security, which may include wireless assessments and a variety of different topics. So why don't we start off with Joe, our CEO? Is there anything that you'd like to share that is related to the SRAs and NVAs and everything else?
I'm excited to jump into the conversation. Thanks, Mel, and thanks to the team for being here. I'll just double click on a couple terms that Mel used as she teased this off. So the SRA is our security risk analysis, and for healthcare entities, you're probably familiar with this. It has to be completed on a regular basis. It's a HIPAA requirement, and it's a measurement of the risk of a data breach, and of course encompasses physical controls, technical controls, administrative controls. So when we say an SRA, we're talking about that required risk analysis that we complete for hospitals, clinics, and healthcare entities. And then the NVA is the network vulnerability assessment. So again, I know we're about to hear more on this, but just to tee it up, so that would be the next level where you actually look at the health and the security of your network, including things like systems that need to be patched, ports that are open. We go pretty deep into that. We looked at last week some of the account management type findings that we see as well. So when we say NVA, that's our network vulnerability assessment, and it's a good idea regardless of who completes that for healthcare entities. They need that level of visibility in their system. So just want to start with those couple background descriptions and tee it up for the team here. And again, Mel, thanks for kicking us off.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification on that. There's a lot of acronyms, so I appreciate that. So why don't we just go off, start with Jordan then, if you want to talk about the SRAs. I know you tend to go on site with a lot of our clients all over the country, and there's a lot of things that you can share with them and to our audience in general that would help them in securing their healthcare organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So the security risk assessment service is really nice because our clients get that, hand-in-hand approach. So we go through the assessment, we go through a series of interviews, but it's more conversational because we really want to make sure that anything that we're capturing is really capturing the security posture, so that way we can give appropriate recommendations on how they can strengthen moving forward. And so during this on-site, we talk about a lot of resources, things that can help. And then we also conduct physical walkthroughs. So through the physical walkthrough process, we'll walk with our clients and show them what we're seeing. And it's so important to do these walkthroughs, not just during your security risk analysis, but on a regular basis, because you need to know what your boots on the ground are doing. So a lot of times we can give them training, we can give them 1,000 different reminders through email. Hey, remember, don't click on that suspicious email, lock your keyboard when you walk away. But we find a lot of times through walkthroughs, there's some very common things. People leaving their workstation unlocked, people who leave their badges at their desk. Sometimes they're not even in that day. So it's those little key things of just the cost of being a busy clinic that happens. And it's so important to have these things kind of become second nature. And so if you build a culture of compliance instead of not necessarily fear mongering, like, hey, do this or you're going to get written up, but explain the whys, it really is a game changer. Another common thing I see is just little things. The MPP isn't posted in an area that's visible, or it's not updated. It has, information from 10 years ago. A lot of things have changed in the past 10 years. So it's important to make sure that that's updated. And quick little plug, February 16th is that deadline to make sure that any SUD Part 2 information is in your MPP. So just make sure that it's in there. If you participate in the Part 2 program, you want to make sure that your NIST privacy practices is compliant. Another common topic that we have is AI and the use of AI. There's been some walkthroughs where I've actually seen sticky notes with the username and password for their ChatGPT account. And it's important for leadership to understand while things might be in progress or might be in the middle of implementation of these AI tools that are coming out so quickly, it's important to have the education around it on how to use it safely.
Thanks, Jordan. And the NPP that she's referring to is a Notice of Patient Privacy Practices, and the SUD is a substance use disorder. Just breaking down those acronyms, but yeah, thank you so much. And the AI aspect, I mean, this is true all across the board, not just specific to healthcare, but just folks using AI that is on, say, unauthorized, or maybe their management isn't aware of it. Like, say I'm copy pasting proprietary information into Gemini. Maybe I'm working on something and I'm like, hey, can you reword this or remove the spelling errors or something like that? That would be a use of like shadow AI. And it's true for healthcare. It's true for any industry. And it's one of those things that's not going away. So how do you adapt? That's your policies. Dan, did you want to add anything from, I know you've done a few on-sites and taken care of a lot of our clients who've asked for the network vulnerability assessments. Is there something that you would like to share with that?
Well, as far as the great question, yeah, as far as the security risk analysis, the SRA as well as the NVA, there is so much that just happens on a day-to-day basis that just kind of you get used to seeing it, passwords on post-it notes, patient information flipped over on a desk that you just get used to seeing, and it's just something you become blind to see. So the SRA really helps point that out. I know from the NVA standpoint, network vulnerability assessment, as easy as it is for everything to just kind of blur together and to lose track of, the NVA side of it, the network side of it, a lot of the settings are things you don't see, that you won't notice, that you won't go looking for. So much of IT now is really about putting out fires, and you see an issue that you gotta address. So you spend all your time addressing all these small issues or the big issues that you don't see these things in the background. You don't check the encryption. You don't check all these things that the NVA discovers. On top of that, we're looking. You need to look at the wireless aspect of it. The wireless aspect of it, if you think about your network as being all that you can see, all you can manage, all you can control, the wireless aspect is all the things that you're broadcasting out online or out in the atmosphere that you don't really see, and it's really easy to set and forget. It's really kind of extending your network outside of the walls of your building. And there's so many different aspects of that when you're talking about wireless connectivity or wireless networks, such as BYOD or bring your own devices. If staff are allowed to bring their own devices, that adds and if you have them connect to the wireless network, that does add additional things to consider. Anytime somebody brings their own device onto the network, it adds potential vulnerabilities, whatever vulnerabilities are on those endpoints. If anybody's missing patches, if certainly introduce the idea of malware being introduced, any kind of weak passwords or anything like that that somebody has set up on their device, any kind of encryption or lack of encryption, all those matters. And on top of that, the wireless aspect of it is segmentation. If you have a guest wireless network, and I've seen clients in the past that have guest networks that they allow staff to connect to and connect with their EMR or log into their EMR with. The question is that guest network even segmented so that people can't connect to that and then laterally move over? So, it's as far as the wireless aspects of it, and I don't mean to pick on anybody, but a few years ago, a company called TJ Maxx had an issue where they had an unsecured endpoint that somebody was able to effectively or essentially drive up or access, connect into it, and then laterally move across. So those are all sorts of things that an organization should consider when implementing or looking at wireless networks.
Thank you. Luke, did you want to add on to what Dan was saying about the wireless networks? I know you've been deep in our what we call the War Box. Maybe if you want to introduce the War Box to everyone, it's going to be one of our new offerings, and we're really excited about it. And Luke and Dan have been working together on that. Have some exciting things to share about it.
For sure. Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's called, we're calling it the War Box right now, but sounds really scary. But actually
So,
it's
the wide area recon box, right?
we're gonna go with wide area recon, and it's actually a completely passive device that's not attacking or exploiting any vulnerabilities on or around your facility. Really what it is, like at a high level, is just like a portable battery powered device that we're able to use to observe the wireless environment kind of inside and around the facility. And so we're not connecting to anything and we're not like disrupting anything. It's really just about solving that issue of visibility when it comes to wireless networks. And so this has kind of been our answer to that, and it's just going to help us really help the clients to find these little hidden things that maybe they forgot about. For example, like a access point that has been kind of set up for a long time, like an old router. Maybe they just forgot it's been plugged in. We'll be able to see if that's broadcasting anything. Because if we can see it, pretty much anyone can. And so that's the scary part, is because people have these tools available to them. And if they want to, they could go and actually exploit it. So we're just trying to catch that before it becomes an issue, really.
Yeah, and it has some really neat heat mapping capabilities too. So you can kind of see your the wireless, just different areas, like when you're walking through, right, or in your
Yeah,
building.
for sure. Yeah, it's really, yeah, it's gonna be a cool aspect to give our clients a way to view their wireless environment in a like interactive map, and that's gonna be able to let them see how far the ranges of their networks go. So, for example, if their network was able to be connected to from the parking lot, they would at least know that, and maybe they wouldn't let people kind of sit in their cars just like for longer periods of time, because who knows what they're doing, and they could be connected. They could be just trying to attack it, or like brute force the Wi-Fi password as well. So
Yeah, and you can find rogue devices, or if, for instance, your buildings or your wireless is called like Medcurity one or something, and then somebody can make a fake one and say Medcurity guest, and then other people can tap into it from your company thinking that it's safe, and it's really somebody. How would you explain that? Like,
yeah, it's getting more and more common. It's very easy to do with pretty inexpensive tools, and it's just pretty much creating your own wireless network that people can connect to, and you totally control that. So you're able to put up login pages and collect any kind of data that is put into those. And so it can be really scary if you're at like a healthcare facility and they make it says guest, but it's not really their guest. It just says that, so that you connect to it because you don't want to ask for the guest password, and it's just a free one that's open. So it's just convenience, right? And you connect to it, and then you log in with your credentials from that healthcare facility. Then boom, the attacker has those credentials, and that can be a really easy way for them to access critical data as well. So
it's some lateral movement and
yeah,
things like that.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, this tool is really exciting because it's gonna let us see those, and there's not a lot of other tools on the market that can do that. Most of it is positioned at that network assessment type of thing that we use for the NVAs, and so this is going to be more of an add-on to the SRA as we're walking around on site.
Joe, did you want to add to that as far as the wireless or the NVAs go?
I think one of the takeaways for us talking about these additional exercises is that the core of a security risk analysis is measuring the likelihood and the impact of a breach. And that answer can't just be, we reviewed policies, right? Or we interviewed the IT and wrote down what they said, the IT department, and put down their answers. There really needs to be that next level to go beyond assumptions that we have, and being speculating about the impact should an event occur. It is far more concrete to have these type of assessments done where we actually looked at the infrastructure and the vulnerabilities, and we looked at addressing them. So being able to say that we performed an NVA or network vulnerability assessment, we looked at the wireless controls and the attack surface. Those are how you answer the Office of Civil Rights when they say, how did you measure the likelihood of unauthorized access? It's not just speculating, and an SRA sometimes just gives you that much information. And we really want to be able to go to that next layer and give some concrete findings to both sides of what we do. We want the compliance side. We want to say, yes, we really looked at it. We measured it. Here are the reports we ran. And we want the practical side. We want to make sure that it's not easy to sit in the parking lot and access a wireless network. So when we conduct a security risk analysis, we're going to always recommend that the organizations take these additional steps. We're building them in because we can do it well, but regardless of how you approach it, you've got to take that deeper look and measure these type of vulnerabilities and have a plan to address them and work through it. So I really like the work that Luke and Dan are doing to drive us in this direction. And then, everything Jordan talked about was the same thing. It's getting your feet on the street and actually seeing what's happening in the real world. And we'll just tell you from being across the country doing these, the real world is different than what's written in the policy. More often than it's the same. And it's training opportunities. It's re-education. It's building the culture of compliance that Jordan referenced. So I appreciated the opportunity to just have us talk about the deeper level here and see how things really are, not just what we spelled out in paperwork, right?
I mean, it's validating what you have and identified or talked about in your in the security risk analysis. If you're saying, hey, we have our network segmented, well, guess what? If you run a test and you can find out that they're not, and of course you want to have that ongoing that due diligence, or that I guess you could say good faith effort, that you're actually testing and validating what you're actually saying you're doing. Jordan, did you have something to add as far as that goes?
Yeah, it's so important to not only conduct your security risk analysis. It's important to do your network vulnerability assessment. We have that next level of the wireless assessment. It's having the evidence that you're doing something. So a lot of times, people will be like, oh, I got to conduct my SRA this year. I got to get in the books, and they'll go through it. There's not much detail. Detail is key, and evidence is key, especially as all of these evolving threats change day to day, and they change their methods. And now you have bots that can just generate a code and inject code. It's so important to make sure that we're not only doing all of these control validations, but we're going through, checking it off. We're looking at it. What can be done? What's the highest priority? If nothing else can get done, what are the key items that need to get done for this year? And then if they ever have to go through an audit, they have proof that they're improving year over year. That is one of the biggest things, evidence that you're doing it and that you're actually, doing something to improve year over year. They don't expect you to, remediate every finding, but they want to see that good faith effort, as you mentioned.
Thank you, Jordan. And the NVA, the SRA, and the good faith effort, that also extends to your business associates. And that's, I think, one important thing to remember. A large percentage of breaches in the past year have actually been tied to the supply chain and the vendors. And so whenever you're drafting your business associate agreements, you can come up with your own special requirements for your business associates and say, like, hey, if in order to do business with my organization, I want you to do a network vulnerability assessment every year, or I want you to show me that proof that you've done your SRA and you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's, and that you really are making a good faith effort to protect the confidentiality of patient data, and of course, like all of those different security aspects too. Dan, is there anything that you wanted to add on to that?
Can I ask Dan a question? I just
Yeah, go ahead.
because it's somewhat relevant. So Dan, considering supply chain attacks, do you still get your slacks at TJ Maxx?
Well, fortunately, a lot of organizations have kept up with the vulnerability that was used on TJ Maxx. That one, that was an encryption issue, not to go too far into the geek world, but a lot of organizations have patched that. But no, I don't go TJ Maxx, not because I don't like them, but just because
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not related to network vulnerability assessments, but we have that added, where we check like the stale accounts and passwords and things like that. Like if it hasn't been changed, I'm still using password 2003 for some of my mainly my bank accounts, but
This is recorded.
I have to change my password because I'm announcing what it is. But
Supposed to be setting a good example.
Yeah.
yeah, now there's some really good ones like what winter 2025 exclamation point.
Oh yeah.
If you go on
Season
to
four
have
by
like
the
a
year.
phone,
Yeah.
yeah.
Logging into Mel's bank accounts now. So Dan, I wanted to ask actually, Luke, Dan, intervals or cadence for these exercises for the NVAs. I mean, just along the lines of what we're talking about just now, there is that drift that happens in SRAs. I mean, we have somewhat of a regulatory requirement to do them on a regular basis. Ends up being annual most of the time. That's what CMS wants. That's what the government agencies tend to expect. But when it comes to the network vulnerability assessment and maybe the wireless side too, what are your thoughts on a good cadence? How often do things change? What's a responsible pattern to those?
That is such a solid question. I would say that because technology develops, and I would say at the very least you want an annual, I would say a quarterly is a good way of doing it. Just because I've seen organizations that'll have up to date, and they'll come out with all sorts of new updates that they won't examine because again they're just kind of out of sight, out of mind. But I would say, I personally, I would say at least quarterly, an NVA.
What about the wireless
Yeah,
network?
I definitely agree.
Oh, sorry, Luke, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's definitely easier said than done, but the more the merrier, just because of how fast these attacks are moving, and it's pretty insane with the way AI moves. People are able to leverage it to generate things we've never seen before, and it's insane how fast they're moving with it. So the the more often you do this stuff, really is going to be the better way to go.
It kind of reminds me of some instances where, we've talked with IT departments and they will show us, their inventory, and we talk about software updates and patches. And when you think about incidents like CrowdStrike, how that was just how it knocked everyone out just because of a file uploaded during an update. Checking those updates in the settings all the time is so important. And these scans really help, let you know if anything falls through the cracks. We're all busy, we're all human. So it's important to make sure that, your settings are adjusted accordingly, things get updated, passwords get changed. I mean, all of these are super duper critical. Sometimes updates can default to the factory settings and you don't know until something happens. So, I mean, this is an excellent preventative tool.
Yeah, and the legacy systems, if they're not going to be supported anymore where there's more patches, but at least doing the micro segmentation that would help, so that if the legacy system has some issue, then it's not going to be there's not going to be like lateral movement into your other devices and things connected to it. So
Really, the lateral segmentation is the big one, and yeah, it's tough to stay on top of your patch, and it's tough to stay on top of updating, especially if you don't know where to look or don't know what to look for. And it's really, really super easy to say, stay on top of your updates, do your patches. And it's another to translate that into practical nature. It's really easy to say it and not necessarily as easy to follow.
Good to point out that these exercises we're talking about they're the checks and balances. The SRA is the checks and balances to the compliance program, not the compliance program. The NVA, the wireless assessment, and we expect that there's tools, whether you use a SOC, a security operations center, or you obviously have endpoint detection response tools, and then your network management tools. So these you need everything in place where you're watching this on a regular basis, and then we have the advanced tools that a hacker might use to try to compromise your system, and we're going to look for things that were missed in the day-to-day. So yeah, quarterly is a great cadence, and the ongoing work to secure the system needs to happen in the meantime. And then we'll come in and just help look for anything that's missed, and usually that'll open our eyes up to any workflow or process or system changes that need to happen, because it's really more along the lines of an audit in a lot of ways. So we want to catch these things, but in a way we should be auditing the day-to-day workflows, not being the only workflow to catch these things.
And kind of thinking of network security and the audits, I know some people will confuse network vulnerability assessments with pen testing, or they'll get a pen test thinking, okay, I'll get a pen test every quarter, but they haven't done the work as far as checking, I guess I would say, the network vulnerability scans, like the internal external scan. But Dan, did you want to explain the difference between the network vulnerability assessments and pen testing?
You see, that's a great question. I really, okay, so pen test, a penetration test, is actively trying to penetrate into your network. Whereas a network vulnerability assessment is you're going around and you're checking all your things. So think of it as your house, okay? So a network vulnerability assessment, NVA, is the equivalent of, making sure that all your windows have locks, make sure that they're closed, make sure your door's locked, your garage door opener, if you have one, make sure that's working, that making sure that everything's in place and looking at it and make sure like your locks are up to date. You're not using some antiquated antique lock that looks good but doesn't work. Whereas a pen test or penetration test is actually trying to get into your network or try to get into your house, trying to break down the door. So yeah, I think I've seen a lot of misunderstanding. I don't want to, well, I want to be very careful when I say that. I think people tend to believe that what I do or what we do is a pen test, and what we're not actively trying to penetrate in with our NVAs. And that's the big difference, is that we're going through and scanning with a client's authorization, and they're giving us a key in, and we're checking everything.
So you're basically checking their security system is in place, that they have the locks on their doors, that basically like their virtual locks, if you think of the network. And so if you're thinking of the pen test and the network vulnerability assessment, it doesn't make sense to go and hire a pseudo burglar to break into your place until you've actually checked or made sure that you've installed the locks, because then of course they're going to get in, and then you spend all this money on the pen test. It makes more sense to actively, I guess, scan and check for those gaps.
Like taking a pre-test.
Yeah, without a doubt, I feel that way, and especially when it comes to my money, because I'm kind of thrifty. I want to make sure that all the doors are locked, all the windows are closed. You check, make sure all your ports are closed, make sure that you don't have any common vulnerabilities on your server before you have somebody try to break in. Because if they're finding the small vulnerabilities or easy to find low hanging fruit, then they're going to stop at that or don't need to proceed much further beyond that.
Yeah. Luke, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just like you have your network vulnerability test assessment, and then one step deeper would be like a basic pen test, and that would be starting with like your client facing server or website. So you kind of go in and see what kind of access you can find inside of your website. So that would be like a basic pen test, and then deeper than that, we would do like an advanced pen test, and that would be like going in and actually breaking down the door and getting inside of the network. But yeah, it's just interesting because most of the like findings of a pen test are those like low hanging fruit that we already find with the NVA, and so it's just really important that that's like step one. Then going from there, we can either use those vulnerabilities we found in the NVA to like dive in deeper, see what kind of exploits you can get out of the NVA results, or they just patch them and then they're going to be a lot more safe from any threat actors, or and if they do a pen test, it would be a lot more in-depth and a lot more useful, because it wouldn't just be like, oh, you have this port open, we just got in through a simple
it took 2 seconds to get in.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, what was the point? There's 20 grand out the window, right? So yeah.
So would you suggest so if you haven't been doing network vulnerability assessments on the regular, would you all suggest doing an NVA, like a full external, internal scan, and then finding out, okay, these are the problems that we have, and then you go ahead and do your best effort to go ahead and fix them. You think that you've closed the open ports and all those different things, and then you do another NVA, and then, okay, it looks like there aren't gaps. And then you take it to that next level and then do a pen test and say, I believe everything's secure. And then you basically hire the burglar to come in.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be the most like effective way, route of doing it for sure. Like you're going to eliminate any like easy targets, and it's going to be a lot tougher for the pen test. But at the same time, you're going to get more valuable results out of that. So,
Yeah.
I think it's important to think about too, as people get to the level of pen testing. So let's say they've done their network vulnerability assessments every quarter. They're in a really good spot. They decide to do a wireless test just to make sure that everything's covered. They're like, okay, let's pull the trigger on the pen test. And then they do the pen test, they get the results, they remediate, and they think, oh, they're done. Like, we don't have to do anything more. Now, it's really important to continue to do those network vulnerability assessments, those wireless tests, to make sure that everything is still going well. It's kind of like doing a tune-up for your car.
Most certainly.
it's like consistent maintenance, basically.
Yep.
And you got to be on top of it.
Jen, were you going to add to that?
Oh no, it's just that
Yeah.
it's just to reinforce it. Yeah, it's when you get a clean bill for an NVA or a pen test, that's just a snapshot at that time. And technology is just developing so rapidly. So much is going on, so much is changing on a daily basis that you want to stay on top of it. Otherwise, that one moment in time that you're secure,
Yeah.
so much can change and you're open to more vulnerabilities.
Were you going to piggyback on that, Joe?
No, I think we've made a great
Okay.
point.
Well, and everyone on the team knows I'm the privacy obsessed one. And that's one of those things I feel like personally gets a little overlooked is the more that you're not kind of controlling your own digital footprint, the more vulnerable you are especially for as far as like spear phishing attacks. Say I'm the IT administrator and I'm online and I have my address, like they have like the white pages and the people search sites, and I just Google my name and I figure out that my first and last name, my phone, all these different pieces of information, a threat actor could use to essentially use against me, email me and say, hey, blah, 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 and impersonate me whenever they're reaching out to folks on my team. There's a great website called haveibeenpwned.com where you can enter in your email address and see where there's been breaches tied to that email address. But even just Googling your first and last name, I found out that I'm on a website that's tied to like martial arts, and they took my photo and they have a fake bio and everything. It's pretty wild. So, that's something also to kind of for everyone to keep in mind whenever they're thinking about their security. There's other little things that you need to do in your own life to just make yourself less of a target. But yeah, anyone else? Any thoughts on that? I know you hear a lot about this, right?
Why martial arts, Mel? What do you think they were using why did they take the information and put it?
I'm glad I found it before folks on my team were like, what's Mel doing? She's moonlighting. It's like martial arts. Is she really working for Medcurity or
Secret ninja,
yeah,
for sure. I can see it.
You're most certainly a toughie, without a doubt.
Just scaling along the Vista Dam in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it even had some like quotes too, and said I had like a background in journalism, and I was like, that's pretty awesome, but that's not quite accurate. So, take a few minutes to Google yourselves and see what kind of results you'll find, and it's actually can be pretty scary, actually. Unfortunately, it will even reveal family members' addresses and who you're related to, who your contacts are, and it's just something to keep in mind with just your personal security and privacy. And of course, that translates to making you an easier target for phishing attacks. Yeah, does anyone have any closing comments or final thoughts that you want to add before we wrap up here?
Sure. So, as we're just entering 2026, a lot of things happen in Q4, trying to wrap up all these projects. I think it's so important to not let that momentum slide when it comes to your compliance. So, working on these items, throughout the year is a lot better strategy than trying to cram it all in the last 3 months of the year. So being proactive, starting these projects early so you actually have time to address anything that might happen is so important, because you don't know if there's something that was really pressing that needs to be addressed, and till you wait till the end of the year. So I think that would be one of my biggest points that I want people to take away from me today, at least.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Joe, do you have any last takeaways or things that you want to share?
Covered a lot of the assessment type checks that need to happen. Just a quick reminder to everyone to get their audits done, and the audits that apply in privacy and security world include things like the chart activity audits, who's viewing what charts in your electronic health record, badge audits, who has badges, does it still match your current employee list when you look at the active badge list, those kind of, and of course Active Directory accounts and who has administrator access, and ensuring people are being shut off the moment they leave the organization. These audits need to be done. We need to keep the evidence of them for 6 years at least under the regulatory code. So just a quick reminder to have those on your calendar and get those completed as well. They're part of how we defend an organization who goes through an investigation or an audit to show that they were doing the ongoing activities that were required and matching their policies when they do that. So just a quick reminder, put them on your calendar for 2026, work those in. And as Jordan said, the sooner the better too.
Yeah, it's good to, like you said, put them on your calendar. If it's too much to do all at one time, just break it down into baby steps. And, if you've been on top of your own SRA for the year, you've done your NVA, don't forget about your business associates. Check in with them. Have they done their HIPAA training? Have they had a network vulnerability assessment? Because you really want to check in and make sure that they're on top of that too. Dan, any closing comments from you?
Yeah, I guess the biggest closing comment I have, and I debate whether or not I should say it like this, but we'll go with this. For me, look, I want business to come our way. But from a security standpoint, it's more important that you have one done. I would love to play a role in it. Medcurity would love to play a role in any security posture with any kind of NVA. But really, it's more important that you have one done. Let us know. We're happy to help with it. But it's definitely more important to have one done.
Yeah. Make it happen, right?
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Because the threats are out there. Unfortunately, they're going for it. And our industry is healthcare industry's just got a big old target on its back.
Yeah.
So that's my closing thought. Just get it done.
I'll echo that, Dan. You don't have to choose the best one. Just get one done.
Yeah.
But we're here if you want the best one.
Exactly. What about you, Luke? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah. Kind of circling back to the wireless security side of things. A little tip is just every now and then pull up your phone and go to the Wi-Fi and just look at all the networks that are in your kind of, that you can pick up at least with your phone. And the phone can only pick up so much, and the signal strength is not the best, but it's just like a good little check, like see if there's anything suspicious, see if there's any just weird open networks or ones that are mimicking your offices or your facilities, like names or anything like that. Just something to keep in mind and just check on. It's a free, easy thing to do.
Thank you. That's a good tip. Well, I guess we'll wrap up here. Time always goes by so fast whenever we're talking about security and related topics, because obviously we enjoy it. So thank you, Joe, Jordan, Dan, and Luke for joining me for this episode and sharing your insight about what you're seeing in the field and any of your tips. To all of you who are listening, if you have any questions about anything that we talked about, or you need help with your NVA or SRA, or you have topics that you would like us to cover in the future, please reach out to us through LinkedIn, or you can contact us at support@medcurity.com. Please don't forget to follow our podcast, and we'll be seeing you again next week. Thank you again for tuning in, and thanks everyone for joining me.